Hey everybody, it's Deanna, and I am here for our oil a day. And today we're going to be talking about basil essential oil. And first, I want to apologize for not being able to post a few times last week because of my travels and the time zone differences. But we're back in business, and we're going to be posting every day this week. And we're talking about the B oils, the oils that start with the letter B. And so I'm going to share a little bit about the oil basil. First of all, basil is one of my favorite oils to use when I'm feeling kind of exhausted, tired, like I've just been doing a little too much. And so, how I like to use basil when I feel that way is I just take a little bit and put a drop in the palm of my hand, maybe, and then I rub it over the kidney area, which is kind of like above your waist band on your back, and I just do it a little bit on each side, and that's because that's where the adrenals are located, and the adrenals are probably the area that it just feels kind of overwhelmed and overloaded when we've been doing too much and maybe not sleeping right, maybe not taking care of ourselves the best. And so basil is just a really good like self-care oil. And so that's kind of how I like to use it. And it also, as far as emotionally, it just helps you to let go of things that are not necessary. And I think if you've ever read the book Essentialism, you'll kind of understand where I'm coming from on that. It just helps you to kind of put your energy into the things that are really essential, instead of just doing a whole bunch of different things and then just feeling overwhelmed and like you've not accomplished anything. Another really good use for basil is I've used this a lot with my son, especially when he was really little. When he would be teething, he would get just some ear discomfort, and he would just be kind of pulling on his ear, and you could tell he had some discomfort here, probably from the teeth coming in. And so how you could use it for that is just put a little bit on the tip of your finger, go behind the ear and all along the jawline. It's going to help with the ears. It's going to help with the teething area. And one reason that might be is because it really helps when you have like muscle spasms and things, and also helps with nerves. And so it could be really calming and relaxing to the nerves. So for that reason, if you have, maybe you have a knot kind of in your shoulders, for a lot of times from tension, anything that happens from tension that you want to relax, and something's just kind of clenching, basil's a really good oil to use for that. And so that's a great one. And you could just kind of massage it into the muscle or area that's bothering you. And there's actually been some really cool studies on basil if you were to read about some of the research. There was one study that showed that it can help the brain following a stroke. And so that's one really interesting thing to know. And so how I would use it in that situation is probably just diffuse it, because inhaling it's really good for the brain, and it's going to be really calming as well. Another study that I found showed that it was really good for breast tissue and to protect the cells in the breast. So that was one I actually didn't know until I was doing a little reading on it today. I like to diffuse basil. It's got a very herby smell, and so sometimes I can tone that down just a little bit by adding some citrus to it, like maybe some lemon, and it's just got a really fresh smell when you combine it with citrus oil. And so you can cook with basil. It's just like a lot of the savory oils. You may want to just kind of stick a toothpick down the hole and then stir the basil in. Otherwise, it can be very basil-y and can be overwhelming. So just start out with a little bit on a toothpick in your dip or your sauce or your marinade, just to make sure that you don't overdo it. If you have any questions about how we use basil, or if you have any other suggestions that you'd like to share in the comments below, we'd love to have your comments. It may help somebody else to know how you like to use basil. I've been reading about how it's actually really good for the respiratory system and to just help break stuff up. And that was another one that I really don't think of when I'm thinking of respiratory stuff in the chest. I usually lean towards some other oils, but there's a lot of studies here that show that could be a helpful use for it. Some people find that it helps to increase their milk supply when they are nursing. It can also help with stings, so like bee stings and things like that. It can really be and it's usually the first oil that I grab for like bites and stings, actually. And interestingly, it's also an insect repellent. It's been used on different types of beetles to repel them, and so it's just funny how it can be like a remedy for certain insects as well as to repel them. So, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to mention about it. Oh, a couple people have asked about loss of smell. There's been a question about that, and there's some evidence that shows that basil could help with loss of smell. So that would be something maybe you could put on the back of your neck to influence the brain, or you could even just inhale it or diffuse it and see if it can help with that. So those are just some of the ideas that I have about how I like to use basil. And again, I'd love to hear your comments, your questions, your success stories with basil, and we'll share that with other people, and hopefully they'll learn something as well. So tomorrow we will be talking about another bee oil, and so on the menu for tomorrow is bergamot. Bergamot's one of my favorites. I use it almost every single day, so I look forward to sharing some thoughts with you on that tomorrow. Thanks for sharing this time with me, and we'll see you again tomorrow, 1 o'clock Eastern Time.